how did you get the gig with Huey Lewis, which you kind of talked about? Maybe you can give a little bit more info on how all that came together.
Yeah. Huey Lewis and the News is the union of two bands, two local Marin County bands. Huey and Sean were in a band called Clover, and Johnny Cola, Mario Cipollina, and myself were in a band called Soundhole. And we were all playing the same clubs. And back then, there was you could play clubs all over the Bay Area, and we used to we'd just leapfrog each other around all the clubs in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
And so it's really just the union of the two bands. We were all friends. We were all friends before we were bandmates. And so that's really just the union of the two bands. I didn't audition. There was no audition, or there was nothing like that. I just,
Yeah. Yeah.
we put the two bands together, and that was it.
Yep. Yeah. That's, and it always seemed that way to me, like a really organic thing where like, and I did in the early days, I didn't know the history of the two bands. It just seemed like you guys were all buddies from the Bay Area, basically, that knew each other and had this band from when you were younger, that you paid your dues playing clubs. And
Yep.
and, so, and talking about that, one of the questions I had is, so when you guys did your first record, there was a record before Picture This, right? There was
Yep.
one that was before that.
Self-titled, Huey Lewis and the News.
Yeah. And so you guys were, I'm guessing you were playing like the club circuit and like writing tunes and playing those tunes live. And then you just went into the studio. Same sort of format for the second record,
Yep, exactly.
like didn't write stuff in the studio. You knew the tunes cold. You went in and it's like,
No, we never wrote in the studio.
yeah,
We'd always write at home in groups of twos and threes, and then go to the rehearsal hall and woodshed them, get them ready to record, then go in the studio and record them.
yeah, yeah. And probably played a lot of the songs live to really kind of get them tight before you
Yeah,
go in. And yeah, really,
that,
yeah. Because I mean, they all sound. I mean, I mean, it's a recording, so of course you're always going to use your best takes. But they in my mind, they sound like songs you probably just knew
inside out.
backwards and inside out. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, yeah, and a good example of that is we had recorded Harder Rock and Roll for Sports, and once we got done with that record, we had to hold it from Chrysalis Records at the time. We had to keep it from the record company because they were in turmoil. They were going
right.
through all kinds of business crap, and we knew we had a good record, right? We knew we had a good record, and we just didn't want to give them to them, have them drop the ball on it. So we said, we're going to hold on to it until you guys get your shit together. And during that time, we went out on the road and did a whole club tour as the sports section. We were called the sports section, and we did
Wow.
an entire club tour. We'd show up at clubs as a band called the sports section. Nobody knew it was Huey Lewis and the News, except kind of the word leaked, and
Yeah.
pretty soon the clubs were packed, you know. So during that time, we got off that tour. That was about a 6-week club tour, the entire United States. And we got off that tour and we realized that we were playing some of these tunes a lot better. So we went back in the studio and re-recorded Hard Rock and Roll. And that's the one that made it onto the sports album.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. And so that would have been around 83, maybe
83,
83.
1983. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is kind of cool because you'd already had a big hit with Do You Believe in Love before
Yeah.
that. So you, like you say, if you'd gone out under your own name, you could have headlined as you know, I'm sure
Yep.
on the strength of that. And wow, that's really cool. That's a great, yeah, I didn't realize that.
Yeah. And that year we also opened up for 38 Special and Loverboy. And they were big at the time. And we
Yeah.
did arenas, right? It was big arena tours. And we were opening up for both those bands. That was an awesome time, man. That was great.
I'll bet. I'll bet. And then within a year, I mean, as soon as that record came out, everything just changed though, right? I mean, that was,
I remember our production manager Terry Persons coming up to us after one gig. We were out with 38 Special, and he came up to us after one of those shows, and he said, "You guys will be headlining this same place next year." And we looked at him kind of like, "Really? You think so?" And said, I guarantee it. And sure enough, we were back at those same places the next year, headlining.
Yeah. I feel like you guys toured for like probably a solid couple of years, right? Or at least a couple of cycles on sports.
On sports was, yeah, sports we toured for 2 years. Four we toured for 2 years. Small World we toured for almost 2 years. So we hit it pretty hard there for about, actually from 82 to 92 we were on the road.
Yeah. Yep. Solid.
Remember one point we were gone. I was home for a total of 1 month out of 15.
That's tough. Yeah.
Went around the world twice.
It's nice to get those air miles, but that's people think, it's the life, but that's
and it went by so fast. Oh my gosh. That time went by so fast. I think back on that and wow. Too much fun.
Well, there's that too. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask you too, the Ludwig kit, if I'm not mistaken, is what's in the Power of Love video. Is that?
Yes.
That's what you're playing, the Silver Sparkle. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
That's right.
Wow. And that song is talk about a timeless song. Just knowing we were going to be chatting today, I've just been listening to, kind of re-listening to a lot of those songs, and all the songs, but that song is just, it was just so made for, I hate to say made for radio, but it's just it was a classic the minute it came out. You knew it. It reminds me of like, and I remember Huey saying this 10 years ago or something at a show. He said, either he said who knew, or maybe we knew as soon as we recorded the song that we'd have to play it every night or something like that. Or
yeah, he'd say who knew that when we wrote and recorded this song, we'd have to play it every night of our lives.
Well, yeah, I know. There's worse problems to have, though. It's a bigger problem. But it reminds me like a song like Brown Sugar by the Rolling Stones, where like that's one of those tunes that like,
yep,
you got to play it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's a crowd pleaser.
Yeah, they'll be leaving there that night going, it was great, but they didn't play Power of Love. Why didn't they play it?
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a show that we haven't played that we didn't play Power of Love. That's just one that you have to.
Yeah.
It's just so tied to us that
yeah,
got to play it.
Great song.
And it's a good song too.
Yeah, it is. It is. If I were you, I would love every second of playing that, because it
is a fun song to play. I like that.
Yeah. Great stuff in it. And, I a little more drum geeking too. Like, I really appreciated the first time I heard it, that like opening the hi-hats, like during the sort of chorus section of it, like the intro, and then like all those little subtle things that probably a lot of people miss. But as a drummer, you go, that is such a cool thing right there. Like, instead of going to the ride cymbal, or it's like, no, I'm going to just open the hi-hat, then I'm going to play it tight for the verse, and then open it again. And it's great.
Yeah. Here's a little drum geek thing for you on that song. When we recorded it, we cut that at the record plant in Sausalito. Yep. And Jim Gaines engineered it. Jim Gaines had engineered our second album, Picture This, and I believe he engineered Sports as well. And Jim is an old Stax guy from Memphis. He worked at Stax Records back in the day, and then he kind of turned to pop music. He recorded Santana and Steve Miller Band, Fly Like an Eagle, and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So he went and he did Journey's stuff. So he was in town. He was in Marin, and we talked to him, and he agreed to engineer. So on Power of Love, we're recording, and if you listen closely in the bridge section, mm-hmm. there's two hits. They say that all in love is fair. Yeah, but you don't care.
Doom,
You
da.
doom bam, doom
Yeah,
bam. I go doom bam, boom bam. One's on the high tom,
yep,
and the next one is on the floor tom. The microphone was muted, and so the microphone was muted during the take. So you hear a really nice full high tom, doom da, and then you hear this kind of click, flat.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I know
That's
exactly what you mean.
yeah. That the floor tom mic was muted.
Ah, I would have insisted, I would have demanded you could go back and just,
Yeah, but
fly
that
it
just
in.
goes to
No,
show you that that doesn't make any difference whatsoever.
yeah,
That was the number one song, you know, and
yeah,
it
yeah.
did that make a difference? Hell no.
And I feel like when I know exactly what you're talking about. I think I thought that might have been a snare hit because it sounded almost like a, like a
Totally.
tighter. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Wow. Good
yeah,
bit of trivia there. And those little things you do in the hi-hat too in that section, that
yeah.
yeah, I mean it's the whole tune is it's like a work of art. It really is. And everybody's playing, not just you. The other guys are good on it too. So
Yeah,
they're
Chris's solo on that's great.
oh man, Chris. Yeah. Yeah, he's a monster guitar player. All right, now here's the track The Power of Love by Huey Lewis and the News from 1985, the movie Back to the Future. We didn't mention this during my chat with Bill, but there's a great scene in the movie you might recall where Marty McFly's band is actually playing this song in the school auditorium. They're auditioning for a school dance, and Huey gets on the megaphone and says, "You guys are just too damn loud." It's one of my favorite scenes in the movie. It's classic. Anyway, check out the track. Bill does an amazing job playing on this song. It's one of my favorite songs by Huey Lewis and the News. Opening the song with the hi-hats open, a washy hi-hat sound. Then he closes them up, plays them tight during the verses. During the instrumental section, during Chris Hayes's killer guitar solo, Bill talks about playing the tom-tom part where one of the floor tom mic was muted, so you hear this sort of weird click, and you don't hear the second tom hit that you would have heard otherwise, from the high to the low tom. So a little bit of trivia there. But anyway, all that aside, a classic track, a great song, stands the test of time for sure. So check it out, enjoy it. I'll see you on the other side. Power of Love, Huey Lewis and the News coming at you. Thanks.
Make a one man weep, make another man sing.
All right, well, that's my show. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like, leave a comment, let me know what you thought. Don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to download the podcast. And remember, no drummers are ever harmed on Track Talk or Live from my drum room. So until next time, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and I'll see you again real soon. And drummers, remember, when in doubt, leave it out. Okay, thanks. See you soon.